So I just wanted to show you that I'm going to tackle making the color guide for this round palette that I have with my Daniel Smith Split Complementary Color Palette. So I'm using, I think you call this a compass. It takes us back to our days in geometry, doesn't it? I'm trying to find the right circle. But here I don't know where the middle is. That's the problem. Let's see. I think if I do it like that, it's about right. Let's not get too obsessive compulsive, Eva. So then I'm going to do this circle here. It's on a quarter sheet of watercolor paper I've had lying around. That'll do it. And then I wanted to probably go to about there. So that means, I think would be about right. And you want to make sure you get into the same. Okay, and then I'll just cut that out. And then I'll make 12 slots, just like it is on my palette, like this. And I already have the names of the colors on the side. I put that on so I know what I have. And that should do it. So I'm going to cut that out. Probably going to have to use an X-Acto knife to do that. And then I'm going to paint my color palette. So I just wanted to share that with you. So here you can see I cut out the outer circle and now I'm cutting out the inner circle. Make sure you have a really, really sharp X-Acto knife if you're doing it with an X-Acto knife, because it makes it much, much easier. I just put a fresh blade in mine, and I started out with the one that I had in, and it was not that sharp, and then I thought, well, I'll put a fresh in, and it's so much easier if you have a fresh blade. I'm just telling you. But of course, be careful and move it so that you have the easiest possible direction for your hand. As you can see, I'm left-handed, and I just move it and make sure that it goes through, and if it doesn't, I go back and just reinforce the cut. So I'm going to take my time. I'm horrible with anything precise. I'm not good, so I really have to concentrate, and this is super boring for you to watch, but I'll get this cut out and then I'll show you how I'm going to divide it. I just thought about it, and here I have my mark of where the center is, and actually it's much, much easier to do my divisions if I have the middle to go through, so I'm actually going to do that right now. I use this protractor, 360 protractor, when I do my color wheels, and if I line that up with the middle here, it would be a lot easier for me to divide this into thirds, so I get 12, so it's every 30 degrees. Okay. So that was easy. So I'll suggest you do that too. That way it's much easier for you to get it, semi-precise. I'm going to try not to transfer my, little bit of perfectionism, which I have a little bit of a hint of, but only the thing about it is I can't be perfect. So that frustrates me sometimes, but I have to learn to get over that. And you might have a little bit of that too. We'll just have to get over ourselves and, get it done good enough is much better than procrastinating and not getting things done because we're afraid that we can't do it perfect. Perfection, I always like to say, is highly overrated, especially in watercolor. So there I have my 12 little slots, and that was easy. Now I'm just going to continue cutting out the inner circle. So I'm glad I just showed you that. Before you cut out the inner circle, when you still have that mark of the middle, take advantage of that. And if you do have a protractor, that would be so much easier to just get your little spots here more or less even. Mine are not 100% even, and that's totally fine. So here we are, close enough. And now I'm just going to put my colors in, and then I'll be able to, hopefully, let's take a look, put that on my palette. Yeah, as I said before, precision is not my forte, but it's good enough. And it'll be a really nice guide because you know how it is with me. I love myself some color guides on top of my palette so I can see exactly in one glance what do I have on here. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to show you as I finish this, and that's just a little hack of the day for you. As you know, I do like to have a black line before I paint like this, so I can paint over it and see how opaque or transparent my colors are. I tried to go out and raid my kitchen to see if I could find a bowl or plate that would work, but I couldn't, so I'll just have to hand do it. And if I take one of these sections at a time and try and follow the inner circle, I think I'll be able to do it well enough with a permanent Sharpie marker. All right, again, I have to tell myself that's good enough. It's going to serve its purpose. Doesn't have to be perfect, Eva. All right, and then I'll do full strength out here, and then I'll water it down out there. That's how I'll do that. So when these first 6 colors are dry, you carefully, and I mean carefully, don't rip your paper here when you take off the masking tape or the washi tape here, because it's very easy to rip if you just kind of go about it quickly. So you can actually use a hairdryer to warm up the tape a little bit if you're having trouble. But you see how I don't rip it like this. I carefully tear it away like this at a 45-degree angle to make sure that I don't rip my paper. Now I spent all this time on creating this little circle. So I'm going to take off all the tapes, then I'm going to tape so that I can paint the remaining 6 areas. So there you can see nice clear crisp edges, and hopefully I can achieve that with the remaining 6 colors. I've noticed that paint has a tendency to creep more when there's something that has been painted already. I don't know what that's about, but that's just an observation. So here I'm carefully taping the edges, and I've quickly found out that it's easiest to tape it so that the shadow of your hand and of the tape doesn't fall on where you're taping, so you can't see where exactly the edge is. So I'll do it so that I don't have the shadow falling where I'm trying to be precise. Okay, got everything taped down. I've pressed down really well on all of them to avoid paint creeping under the tape, and we'll hope that we don't get any bleed. So here was my Pyrrole Scarlet, and here was my Quinacridone Rose. So in between is my Quinacridone Coral, which is my true red on this palette, and that's like a red I've switched to. Used to use Quinacridone Red, but I find this Quinacridone Coral is actually a better true red than the Quinacridone Red. Quinacridone Coral is from Daniel Smith, and I used to use Quinacridone Red from Winsor Newton. It's the same pigment number, but the coral is just a little bit less pink than the Quinacridone Red, so I find it's a better true red. There we go. There, that's good. And we'll carry on. So here is our beautiful color wheel. Now I just need to write the names on. I'll write that down here. And then I could do one other thing. I could lift out a little circle so we can see how staining or how easily they lift. I like to do that with all my color guides. Okay, so I use these little circles that you can buy at an office supply store to strengthen the holes if you have things in a binder. And I press them down. I decided to put them here kind of in the middle where it's still in the darker part of the color swatches. And then I use a flat nylon brush. It's not a scrubber brush, but it's pretty stiff. And then some tissue, clean water. I'm going to take this watercolor paper away so that I don't drip on it. And then I go to town and I try to be as consistent as possible. So a damp brush, and then I gently scrub inside here this little circle one time, rinse out my brush, dab it on my towel. 2 times, dab it out, rinse my brush, and then I do it a 3rd time. With all of it with a damp brush. Don't have the brush like dripping wet. Okay, that was the burnt sienna, and I'm going to do it on all of them, and then I let it dry, and then I remove the little circles. So there you can see my finished color guide, and now I can see how staining the individual colors are, and I know my colors already, so I know that the non-staining colors are the cobalt blue, the French ultramarine blue, and the burnt sienna, and I also lifted out quite a bit of the New Gamboge, and surprisingly also quite a bit of the Hansa Yellow Light. The others are staining. So now I'm just going to attach it to the lid of my palette with some clear packing tape, and then I have a good color guide. So here you can see I finished my little color guide. I think it turned out pretty good. I used a little bit of double-sided tape to put on the back side of the color guide and stuck it down as precise as I could. That way it wouldn't move. And then I just took pieces of just regular clear packing tape and pressed it down. And then I used my X-Acto knife to just kind of cut around the edges. And I think that turned out pretty good. It's better than no color guide. And I hope you enjoyed this. palettes, and now you have a way of also putting color guides on your round palettes if you have any of those. So wish you happy painting, and if you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel if you find it useful, and hit the little bell, that way you get notified every time I upload a new video, and you know, it's all at no cost to you. So see you soon in another video, and remember to keep it fun and stay safe.